Let's get some political analysis now. We're joined by an analyst, Dr. Ralph Mathekga. Doctor, thank you for being with us. Firstly, what did you make of what the former president was saying earlier? He is equating what is happening to him now almost to the injustices that we're seeing under apartheid. He said, I struggled for freedom. It feels like I'm starting again the struggle, and I won't be deterred.
Good evening, Francis, and to viewers at home. I think what we are seeing happening in Nkandla is just consistent with President Jacob Zuma's stance when it comes to dealing with his personal legal woes in the past. I mean, consistently, he has always maintained that he has got no cases to answer. All of these are just political machination aimed at going against him, probably just that the judicial system is just pitted against him. And in this case here, he was given the opportunity by the Constitutional Court to come and present his case. He refused. He walked out of the judicial system. And what is quite even interesting is that having walked out of the judicial system, he now wants to go back, and yet he's also issuing statement about the court on the sideline in a political, I would say, environment. So there is a level of dishonesty here. If he believes that indeed he's being castigated by the judicial system, why is he not going to present that case in court? And again, he has said that he's willing to go to jail, but yet we hear that he's now petitioning the court to review its own sentence regarding what ought to be done about his situation. It appears that this is someone who's not going to accept any decision of the court that he actually doesn't like, and it has been quite consistent. He has litigated on processes for quite a while, and one thing quite notable is that he does not want to respond to the substantive matters at hand here. We should remember that we are not yet talking about the extent of his culpability relating to state capture and other matters. We are still at process level.
All right.
He does not see it fit that he need to go and deal with and respond to those substantive matters.
All right, and we'll see how the Constitutional Court views him again, saying that some judges are out to get him. They were concerned about his political statements earlier. Then Ace Magashule also took to the stand, the suspended Secretary General. What do you make of what he's doing? It seems like he really doesn't mind if he's expelled. He's defying those suspension conditions and setting it up as if those who are being expelled are actually the true ANC members.
I mean, this is what is happening there. The ANC has lost control of senior members, including Mr. Ace Magashule. We are seeing them acting in defiance of the internal processes of the ANC, addressing people while he's under suspension, breaking the lockdown rules, and so forth. And I think that this is a fight for political survival as far as the suspended Secretary General is concerned. And that is why you are seeing some kind of coalescence of those who are troubled within the ANC senior members, as we have seen them gathering in KZN in support of President Jacob Zuma. This is a big push against the judicial system. It's not just a simple issue of people just being aggrieved, but it is a big push against the judicial system to a point where probably the court is beginning to feel that political pressure being exerted by those senior members of ANC.
Well, how serious is this rhetoric for the country? If you have people standing up and claiming basically that there's a conspiracy, that judges are biased, they're out to get certain people, and they're actually being supported by the main structure of the ruling party that's also trying to get rid of the people that really stand for true freedom.
One thing that is quite clear, Francis, is that the ANC as a political party is making itself available as a platform for this kind of behavior that is being seen in Nkandla, that is being displayed by some suspended members. The ANC as a political party continues to be a platform through which people are becoming quite recalcitrant and belligerent to the decisions of the party. So the ANC has lost control. I mean, I was just watching your news. You hear the SACP coming out and condemning what is happening. Where is the ANC in all of this? Members of ANC that are even being deployed in government are going there to address the people as members of the party, using state resources to go there to try to de-escalate a situation that is already bordering, or it's clear matter of illegality with people gathering out there. So the ANC has lost control of this, Francis. It cannot rein in its own members to a point where the divisions within the ANC are now festering into the country, almost being seen as divisions within the country. It is quite unfortunate, but it was always going to get to that point where the ANC's inability to control its own members is going to affect the functioning of state institutions, such as the court in this case.
Well, what do you think of the ANC's National Executive Committee's decision to not meet this weekend, rather send people to Nkandla? Was that decision the right one? Was it not almost augmenting the importance of events around Nkandla?
One wonders on what basis are those people in Nkandla, and what position are they actually propagating in Nkandla? Perhaps the party's NEC should have met and issued a statement as to where does the party stand in relation to this. At this point, there is an element of crisis management on the side of the ANC, sending people to Nkandla. And if you look at how this should sit with the functioning of state institution, the functioning of state institution being the implementation of the decision by the Concord, the NC members being in Nkandla actually should have no bearing. The NC can also meet as much as they want, but the reality is that the matter has entered the judicial process and it has gotten to a point where the court has made a decision, and there is no more political solution available to this. The chance for political solution had actually passed. At this point, I would say South Africans outside the ANC would want to see the implementation of the court, or a clear explanation as to why the decision is not being implemented.
Yeah, even the talk of a political solution, doesn't that in itself undermine the courts that have made a decision here? Yes, they are going to still hear an application, but the courts, like you say, have spoken. I also want to ask you, Dali Mpofu, the EFF member, who's also a prominent advocate working for the former president, he was there today, prominently on the stand. Do you see any movement here? And also what we've seen in recent weeks in terms of a realignment, the EFF aligned with the former president?
Well, Dali Mpofu is a lawyer, it's a counsel for Mr. Zuma. Probably he is there to advise as to what needs to be said on stage and what need not be said, given that the issue is now back in the court. He's leading the petition for the court to have to rethink its position about the decision they've made in relation to Zuma. But without any doubt, Francis, if you look at how other political parties are positioned here, you look at how the EFF comes out on this. EFF leaders have went, including Advocate Mpofu, to see President Jacob Zuma since his own defiance. There has not been efforts by people to distance themselves from what is happening in Nkandla, or to distance themselves from the decision. Politically, the EFF has not necessarily distanced itself from that. So that gives the impression that there seems to be an alliance against the functioning of a state institution here. I mean, in a normal democracy, people should be distancing themselves from those who are acting in defiance with the constitution or in defiance with the functioning of state institutions, such as the judiciary. But there is no attempt to do that here in South Africa, and you just get away with it. I mean, at this point, it appears as if our constitution is only applicable when politicians say so, and that should not be the case. The constitution should be applicable, should be the highest rule, should be should be the deciding or the principle through which we are being guided. That should not be second guessed by politicians, giving the impression that they seem to be working a political solution, which it has got no place at this point in time in relation to this matter.
All right, but before you go, some of the legal analysts I've spoken to say the Constitutional Court cannot change its mind here. There's no new significant information. If it does change its mind, it'll be bowing to political pressure. So what if the Con Court says, yes, you will still go to jail, Mr. Zuma, and what even if the Pietermaritzburg High Court says, no, we won't stay that arrest, so he could be arrested, he could go to jail. Does that would that calm things, or actually give him renewed political clout, because the people who are around him can now talk about the former president, an old man in jail?
The president has walked out of the judicial system, galvanized political support to challenge a judicial decision. And whether we like it or not, Francis, the president is already benefiting from that. He was supposed to report to prison on Sunday, but it has been extended. The very same Constitutional Court said that they are willing to engage him further and listen to him. That on its own is already a problem, because the Constitutional Court should not be seen dithering on their decision here. They should not be seen caving to political pressure that is coming out of this. And I do think that people also expect an explanation from the Constitutional Court itself as to what is the basis upon which they decided to listen to a party that had failed to present a case within the court and also attack the court and continues to attack the court. I mean, if you listen to the statement by President Jacob Zuma in Nkandla, it is a continuation of contempt of court, because he is dealing with substantive matters about the court, he's dealing with the position of the judges and so forth, and yet he refused to subject himself to that very same court. So the court itself will have to explain what is the basis, what is the legal provision for them to have to reconsider their own decision, unless otherwise maybe something completely new comes out in this. But such explanation is warranted here. Unless otherwise, we are headed to a situation where a conduct that could otherwise have been seen as a misdemeanor, it is becoming a constitutional crisis. Remember, the issue of Mr. Jacob Zuma has never been a constitutional issue. In my mind, this is something that should have been dealt with by the lower court. The contempt of court is something that should be dealt with by the lower court, because it does not by any chance raise constitutional issues here. But the court is seized with that, and it has to explain why is it that it seems as if the court is now bending backward to accommodate this particular case in this manner.
Yeah, the nation will be listening to the legalese as well. Thank you for your analysis, as always, Dr. Ralph Mathekga. We take a short break and then some sporting action with Simon.